Hello, hi. Hello, hi. First of all, thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Big kisses. Thank you so much for those of you who have donated to my Kofi, I don't know how to pronounce it, site. Thank you. Um, if you haven't heard, my dad, unfortunately, recently passed about a week ago now, and it was very sudden and unexpected. It wasn't until it wasn't until he was dying that I found out how sick he he actually was. My dad did not believe in going to doctors. Not that he had any weird phobia or anything. He was very stubborn. He thought he could fix everything with, Tylenol. So he just didn't go to doctors. He had skin cancer a few years ago and got that treated only because we practically forced him to. And he would go to the eye doctor to get stuff done with his eyes. He had eye surgery. But that's because he was a photographer. That was his main. Well, yeah, my dad had various jobs over the years, but photography was always his love, his life. So he was willing to get stuff done for his eyes. But I didn't know until he was there in the hospital that he actually had cancer. He actually had bladder cancer that was quite advanced. And he also had pneumonia, which it's irritating in the fact that bladder cancer is actually very survivable, very treatable. But he let it go to the point where it was very advanced. Same with the pneumonia. Just a week's worth of antibiotics at the beginning, and he would have been fine. But no, instead, he let it progress to the point where he had to be on a ventilator. And you could see with the tube in his mouth, you could see with every mechanical breath, there was fluid coming in and out. Ew, it was gross. It was fluid was actually there. His lungs were full of fluid. They were surprised that he had survived as long as he did. So what happened is that he went to go get the mail. He tripped and fell and he hit his head, and so then there was bleeding on his brain, and he was they're actually not sure if he had an aneurysm and there's bleeding on the brain, which made him unsteady and then fall. But he was having a hard time walking. He had Parkinson's, which again he did not want to get treated, so he was constantly always shaking. So I think it's much more likely that he tripped and fell and hit his head, and that caused the bleeding on the brain. He didn't need brain surgery, but it was also not getting any better. That's the first 2 days or so that he was there, they kept telling me, oh, well, he's stable. That was every nurse and doctor that I told to at first, they would only say well, he's stable for now. He doesn't need any surgery for now. And, yeah, he's only breathing because a machine is breathing for him, but it's not getting any worse. He was just stable, and I was getting so upset. I was getting so irritated. Stop sugarcoating it for me. Tell me the truth. Do I need to say goodbye to my dad right now, or do we wait for him to get better? Ugh, it wasn't until finally the palliative nurse came and talked to me. The one that, you talked to about putting them on hospice and making them comfortable, in other words. And I just begged the guy, please, will you please just tell me I'm sick and tired of being jerked around. I don't know if he's gonna wake up and he's gonna be better, or do I need to say goodbye to my dad right now? And finally, someone was willing to say, unfortunately, yes, you should say your goodbyes. I get that they didn't want to give me bad news and be in trouble later if it wasn't that bad, but I was just getting jerked around by these people of like, well, he's stable. Like, cut the bullshit out and just tell me the truth. So finally, this one nurse was like, yeah, it's been, it's been 2 days, and usually we say after 72 hours, if they can't breathe on their own, if they haven't woken up, it's not going to get better. And this was the hardest part of it, is that he was actually moving. He was moving a little bit. He'd move an arm a little bit, or he'd move his leg, and occasionally his eyes would even open, but he wasn't responding. Like when his eyes were open at one point, I was leaning over his bed, like I was staring straight at him, like, Daddy, I'm here. I'm here. His eyes were open, but nobody was home. The first day that I saw him, he would, if I put my fingers like in his open hand, he would squeeze my fingers with a death grip, and I would try to move my fingers out of his hand, and he would squeeze. So I thought, like, oh my gosh, he wants me here. He's responding. He knows I'm here because he's got a death grip on my fingers. But then after that, nothing. No, I could put my fingers right there in his hands, and whoop, he wouldn't grab on. So he was technically still alive. He was on the ventilator. And I had to make the tough choice of, do we sit and wait and hope that he wakes up and is responsive, or do I let him go? And yeah, for some people, they would want to wait. They would want to hope and wait that their loved one would wake up and be responsive. Because the nurses would ask him, they'd say, like, can you open your eyes for me? Can you move your arm for me? Like any sort of command. And like I said, I also was there in his space, and he was not responsive. So he was alive, but he was also like, the lights were on, but nobody was home, basically. So I had to make the tough choice. I decided to remove the ventilator. My dad, I kept telling everybody that if he was awake right now, he would be pissed that he was in the hospital, and he would be begging to go home. He would not be happy with being stuck on a breathing tube and wires and IVs and all this other stuff. He would be, no, get this out of me, get this off of me, I want to go home. So I took the breathing tube out. I mean, not literally myself, but I told them to stop treatment, told them to just make him comfortable. We all thought that he was gonna, like, die as soon as the breathing tube came out, but he actually was breathing on his own for about 2 hours, I think. Well, I was there for about an hour after they pulled it out, and he was breathing on his own. And at first I was like, I can't leave him. I don't want him to be alone when he actually dies. But my husband finally convinced me, like, no, he wouldn't want you just waiting for him to die. Let's go. Let's go get dinner. You haven't eaten all day. and we'll see. We'll just see how he does. And it was only an hour after we left that he then did finally stop breathing. They did, before they pulled out the breathing tube, they loaded him up on the good stuff. They gave him a ton of pain medication and anxiety medication and medication so that there wouldn't be like fluid in his throat and so that he couldn't feel the tube coming out. So he was not in any pain whatsoever. And then he just stopped breathing, and they called me, and then I went to the hospital, and I said goodbye. I mean, I had already done a lot of saying goodbye before that. My dad always had music on. He always had the radio on. So, I played music for him. I played all of his favorite songs. I tried to make it as happy as I could, because actually every time that I would start crying and bawling and wailing, you know, like I kept saying that I kept saying I can't, and no, he can't be dying, he can't. So anytime I would be upset like that, his heart rate would increase, and they would have to give him more pain medication to calm down. Anytime that they would try to lower the sedation, he would be in pain. He would be agitated. He would kind of start like choking on the breathing tube. He would either go super rigid, or he would start moving. So they couldn't take him completely off of the sedation, because he would show signs of being in pain, in massive amounts of pain. So when I was there with him, I then put on a happy face, put on a happy tone in my voice, and just talked to him and played his favorite songs. He loved the Beatles and the Eagles and Rocky Horror Picture Show. I played the Rocky Horror Picture Show, since I wasn't going to be able to see it with him live. I played those songs. He introduced me to that. He's the reason why I go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show live show every October. And my dad was actually Canadian, so I played the Canadian anthem for him. Well, not me literally, but on my phone. So I just tried to keep... And anytime I did that, anytime I was playing music and just talking to him, he was calm. His heart rate would normalize, his breathing was done mechanically. But he would be more calm. So I knew that he didn't want me to be suffering. And I couldn't let him suffer any longer. I knew that if he was awake and with it and coherent, he would be telling me, get me the fuck out of here. And in fact, actually, when they picked him up, I wasn't there, but his neighbors called me. they had to call me actually to get permission to sedate him because he was fighting them so much. Like an angry cat at the vet. He didn't want to go in the ambulance. He didn't want to be treated, but he had a head injury. He obviously needed to be treated, so they had to actually. I'm laughing because it sounds horrible, but I'm laughing because it's that's my dad. He didn't want to go to the doctor. He didn't want to be treated. So I had to let him go. I had to just let him, because he had hidden all of these illnesses from everybody. You know, I knew he was sick. I could tell, because every time I saw him, he'd be even skinnier. And oh God, in the hospital. Even if, see, the thing is that even if he woke up and he was fine, he wouldn't be fine. We'd have to treat the cancer. We'd have to treat the pneumonia. He was skin and bones. His ribs, I could actually see, not just feel, but see his ribs sticking out. He was completely emaciated. So even if he had woken up and was coherent, he was still really, really, really sick because he was a stubborn jackass that didn't go to the fucking doctor. So I knew he wouldn't. It was better for him to not wake up, because even if he did, and with the brain bleed, like, yeah, it didn't require surgery, but it was still bleeding on the, like, he may not have recovered full motor function. Like, he may have not been able to walk at all. There could have been, it's your brain when you have bleeding there where it's not supposed to be. That's your fucking brain when your brain goes wrong. Who knows what else would be wrong? I think he was hoping to just die at home, just to go to sleep and not wake up without me there. Because every time I was with him and I would tell him, every time I would start crying, the last time I saw him about a month ago, I told him that I was worried about him. That either he would let his neighbors help him, or I was going to have to move in with him and cook him 3 meals a day, because he wasn't eating enough. And I had even tried to contact Meals on Wheels to get him some free food, and he had given me the permission to do so. But when they talked to him, he was like, I don't know why my daughter called you. I'm fine. I can cook. I can provide my own meals. I'm fine. I don't need your service. I told him, like, no, he's just being a stubborn old man and doesn't want to admit that he needs help. But then they were like, well, if he says he's fine, we can't help him. Which is, it's such a stupid system. So he wouldn't let people help him with the food. And and anytime I would express concern, especially if I was crying, he would try to change the topic. He would try to make some kind of joke. He was... anytime I was upset, or there was something uncomfortable, whatever, that was his go-to, was to divert and make a joke. That's what he did. He didn't want me to worry about him. He didn't want me to be concerned or anything. So even like the last time that I saw him, and I was saying that I was crying, telling him that I'm really worried about you. I don't want to worry about you. he completely ignored me and made some kind of joke. I don't remember what the joke was right now because I was so upset with him and worried that I don't even remember what the joke was. I hope, but the point being was like he didn't want me to worry and be upset. So he didn't let me take care of him. He didn't let other people take care of him. Sometimes I feel like I killed him because I told them to I told them to stop the only thing that was keeping him alive. But I just knew that he wouldn't want to be, he wouldn't consider that being alive. He wouldn't. But of course I'm always going to wonder, should I have waited? Should I have waited for him to wake up? Well, never, we can't know. I just know that I let him just lay in that hospital bed with the machine breathing for him for 3 days, I think, which sounds like not a long time. But I couldn't, it was tearing me apart seeing him laying there and not talking to me. I wanted him so badly to just wake up and talk to me. But like I said, even when he opened his eyes, I stared straight at him and there was nothing there. He didn't respond. The only time he responded was when he was like holding my fingers, and that was only the first day that he did that. After that, there was no he was already slipping away. But I'm always gonna feel like I killed him, of course, because I stopped the breathing thing. But he was able to breathe. Like, they kept testing him that they had the ability to test if he could breathe on his own. And they told me that they tested it several times. They gave him several opportunities to breathe on his own, basically. And he either couldn't or wouldn't. So that's why it was a horrible shock when they did take it out, that he was breathing on his own. And it was like, God damn you, like, giving me false hope. I was all prepared when they had taken it out for him to just go then, but then he survived for like another 2 hours. I still couldn't believe, though, that he was... I couldn't believe that he was gone. But when I saw his body there, it was obviously just like an empty shell. There's nothing left. Oh God, I feel like I failed him. That I should have stayed with him longer, that I should have insisted that I take him to the doctor, that I cook him good food, and but you have to understand, though, that that's not how my daddy worked. My daddy was insistent on not being a burden to me. That was the one thing, is he did not want to be a burden on me or anyone else. And I know he was really, really, really proud of me. Everybody that I've talked to so far, they say that they feel like they know me because of how much he talked about me to them. And I know he was really, really proud of me, He didn't always understand the furry thing, but he was really proud of me and this channel. I know there's some things that I regret. I didn't fix his stupid clock. I have this cuckoo clock of his that I promised like 3 months ago that I would get it fixed and return it to him, and well, it's my clock now. I'm still gonna get it fixed. I'm so bad at myself that I didn't get the clock fixed before now. It's just, God. And I'm sad that my stepdaughters didn't really get to know him. There wasn't really just much of an opportunity for them to get to know him, but yeah. And I didn't get to. He was really looking forward to my video. I'm planning a video with my cycle bar teacher. But he was really looking forward to that, and now he's not gonna. Again, something that I've put off, and I shouldn't have put it off. The last thing that my daddy ever texted me was, he said, "To thine own self be true." And I'm actually really glad that he said that, because his previous text was la-dee-da. I'm glad he didn't go out with those being his last words. He left me with a pretty awesome thing. To thine own self be true. My God, did he live that? You know, a stubborn jackass that he was certainly true to himself, and he always encouraged me to be. It's just hard for me, though, to reconcile the fact that the man dying in the hospital and then dead is the same person as the person who used to text me every morning. You know, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, with a sunrise picture and a sunset picture every day. And sometimes I still text him. Just, I know he won't answer. His phone is lost, by the way. That's a whole other saga. But just the same person that's where my brain is like, no, it can't be. And then other times, like today, when we spent three freaking hours loading up the storage unit with, I think I counted like, I don't know, 50 or 60 boxes that I have to go through. That's when the anger part comes in. I don't know what comes after denial and anger, but I'm definitely flip-flopping between denial and anger. But god damn it, he didn't have anything set up. He didn't want to be a burden, but guess what? Dad, you're being a burden, because he had nothing set up. No will, no instructions, no money set aside. Nothing. I do at least know that he wanted to be cremated. He told me that much. And luckily, cremation it's not cheap. It is stupidly expensive. But it's at least cheaper than a burial. Oh, God. I feel like shit asking for money. Like, that's just, I hate that. But the expenses that we have racked up so far, oh my God. With all of the traveling to Vegas and then traveling to Kingman. and renting the moving truck and renting the storage space, and I'm gonna have to go back to Kingman to do the memorial, and I'm probably gonna have to rent a truck to go back because I have so much stuff I need to bring back for the memorial, but I couldn't leave there because I had to clean out his fucking apartment. And I have to drive to Glendale to sell some of his stuff. Oh, God. I knew that he had, like I said, he's a photographer. I knew that he had lots of cameras and camera equipment and stuff, but my God. And literally the thousands of photos that I have to go through. Oh. Lesson all this is don't keep everything and make a fucking will. You know everything now, anyways, up until this point. And so please, if you can, donate to my Ko-fi page, whatever. Shit's expensive. Gas. Oh my God. The amount that we spent on gas and food. Like, just, you don't think of those things when you're planning a funeral or setting money aside for those kind of things. It's like, there's all the other stuff. There's the getting there and the hotel and food. It's it's so much. It's so much. Thank God for credit cards. And thank you, all of you. I mean it sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all of your kind words and your support. It really does help. It really, really does help make me not feel like I'm drowning. Every kind word, every dollar. And I understand if you can't donate, obviously, you know. But if you can, I can't say enough how grateful I am. I'm so grateful for this channel. I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm so grateful that I can do this and be supported. Thank you. Well, until my next rant. I will actually try to share some of the photos. You know, obviously none of me personally or my dad personally, like no people. But I will share some of his photos when I come across them, that, you know, so you can kind of get a little better picture of who he was. I guess I'll see you next time. Love you so much. Mwah. Thank you. Bye.